One, two, three, go!
Hi, I'm Miranda Daisy, the founder of Performability, and for the last 17 years I've been helping people with disabilities find their voice through dance, music and performance. But now it's my turn to use mine. I want to open up conversations about inclusion, disability and a lack of access in the arts, and share the teaching strategies that help teachers bring out the best in every student. Because I believe the arts can change the world. But one Daisy can only do so much. So, if you'd like to learn, grow, create change with me, and be a flower in the chain, welcome to the Daisy Chain Effect podcast. Hi, I'm Miranda Daisy, and welcome to episode 2 of the Daisy Chain Effect podcast. I am going to jump straight into it with episode 2 on a myth that I would like to bust. It's a piece of advice I was given, and I'm sure you've heard it many times over, especially if you've ever asked for some advice around working with people of all abilities. And I think it's potentially one of the most damaging ideas in inclusive teaching. The idea is that we should treat everyone the same. If you want to include everybody and you want everyone to feel respected, cared for, and you're being kind, then I get it. Treat everyone the same. But what I've learned over many, many years of teaching is that we actually need to do the opposite. If we want to teach people successfully, if we want to communicate with people really well, if we want them to understand what we're explaining, then we need to do the opposite of teaching and treating everyone the same. We want to find out exactly how it is that they understand, learn, how to best communicate with them, what sort of rapport you need to build with that person in order for them to be able to get to a place where they feel safe and comfortable and ready to learn. So today, I hope that you walk away from this episode with a bit of a new mind, a bit of a new lens, a way of looking at the world and the way that you teach, and some strategies too as to how to do this a little bit better. Now, I get it. When you're teaching, you don't want to single anybody else out. You want to be able to teach the whole group. But there are ways to do that and still reach everyone and reach their needs and meet their needs in the way that they need to be met. Unfortunately, in the performing arts culture, we have this idea that everyone needs to rise to the level of a certain standard. And sometimes that means pushing students by means of yelling, repeating something over and over and over, and comparing them. Well, great job. Look at how George is doing it. That's how I want it to be done. I don't get why you're not getting it. I've heard this language in the dance community more times than I can count. But what's interesting is when you start to step outside of an idea of what a dance teacher is as someone that just teaches choreography, and change the mindset to it's a teacher. You're a teacher, and teaching is one of the hardest jobs in the world. Trying to get an idea or a piece of information from your brain and your body and into somebody else's brain and body who is a completely different human to you is actually really difficult. And sometimes repetition, especially if you're repeating it in the same way, is not going to be the answer. What's the definition of stupidity or insanity? Isn't it trying the same thing over and over and expecting different results? I think I see that sometimes with dance teachers, like you're just yelling at them over and over, and the kids are getting more and more heightened, dysregulated nervous system, which is going to make their brain more offline, not online. And so when you sort of take yourself out of this dance studio environment and into a mindset of we're teachers, so much will change for you if you can get to that place. There is a difference between equal and equality. I just want you to think about that for a second before I give you the answer. There is a difference between equal and equality. If we are wanting people to be treated equally, then we're going to treat them the same as everybody else. But if we want equality, we're going to give them what they need in order to be successful. That is the whole myth busted right there. Treating everyone the same is on such a surface level that you're going to treat them the same, but that doesn't mean that they're getting what they need. Think about it like this. A crumpet. Sorry, my puppy just jumped on and decided to join. Think about it like this. If you have an iPhone and you have an Android charger, and that charger is only going to work for an Android, you can't plug that charger into the iPhone and expect it to work. But why not? One's a phone and one's a charger. They should just work together. People's brains and bodies are like that. It doesn't matter how much you give information a certain way. If that person doesn't learn from that sort of language and information coming at them, then you're not going to get anywhere. And it's not their job as a student to change. It's your job as a teacher. Your job as a teacher is to teach them the content, whatever it is that you're trying to get across, no matter how many times you need to, in so many different ways until they get it. That's your job as a teacher. Your job as a teacher is not to give them something to learn and then tell them to go figure out how to learn it. That's not what a teacher does. So it's quite frustrating to see teachers give a student, for example, a song to sing and learn, and the student's just not able to get it without giving them more and more strategies to understand, to be able to be successful. And I think as teachers in the performing arts space, we've kind of been drilled to just be the best that we can possibly be all the time, right? Be the best singer, be the best dancer, be the best at every genre. Go to auditions and just do everything you can to be amazing. And so we expect our students to do the same. But being a performer, again, is a different realm to being in a studio learning and you being their teacher. So I want to give you some examples of this on a pretty extreme level and then bring it back to what it might be like in a mainstream studio as well, with people of all abilities learning differently. So for us at Performability, we have students who are all extremely different. We have students with different disabilities, including Down syndrome, autism, cerebral palsy. We have students that may be using a walker or a wheelchair in class. We have students that have sensitivities to certain things. And so if I was to just come in and teach a class one way, I could not, that would be really silly to expect that they're all going to be able to succeed. So when they come down and do corner work, I give different options for each person. Someone doing kicks might need me to hold their hand so that they can balance better. Someone might need a lot of verbal encouragement and they might respond really well to that football coach energy or the hype girl energy, like, yeah, come on, work harder, you can do it, you can do it. Someone else might need what we call the shit sandwich. So that positive feedback, then sneak it in what you need them to work on and then something positive again. Someone else might need tactile input. So I'll get out a yoga bolster, which is like a big pillow, right? And I'll hold it and then I will get them to kick until they hit that pillow, because there's no other way that they might have either incentive or understand how high their leg needs to go, or the force that I need them to bring so that their leg goes from the ground up into the air. Someone else might need me to face them so that they're getting verbal encouragement and my facial expressions telling them how amazing they are. And someone else might need me to face away so that they can copy my movements exactly as they are, because they get confused if I'm facing the other way. So as they're coming down the line, even if they're going as a group, say there's 4 or 5 of them going at the same time, I get my chance to get to each person as they're coming down and give them exactly what it is that they need from me in order to be able to learn that move or practice that move. Now, this isn't something that goes out in a form, right? I'm not going to send a form home saying, do you learn this way, that way, this way, that way? Because a lot of the time people don't even know the answer. This is when it takes time. It takes time and commitment to build rapport with every person. But you get better at it over time, and you start to notice the signals, and you start to notice very quickly what works and what doesn't work. And sometimes students are quite good at telling you what they need. And if they do, you better listen. Okay, quick little pause. When I started this podcast, someone told me that 70% of people wouldn't care about it, 20% of people would hate something I say, and 10% would love it and find it life-changing. If you're part of the 10%, if you could take 2 seconds to like, subscribe, or follow wherever you're listening, it would be a really huge help to me and help me be able to reach more people. Okay, back to the episode. Once you start seeing how much of a difference these sorts of strategies make, you can't unsee it. You can't unsee how quickly people can learn if they're just fed what they need. It's like how quickly the plant will grow if you give it some plant food and some water versus you just, I don't know, you've got to figure out what the plant needs, right? Sometimes the plant needs extra water. Sometimes the plant needs plant food. Sometimes the plant needs sunshine. Some plants need heaps of water, like a lily. Can't they just sit in water? I feel like they can just sit in water and they just bloom. You can't overwater them. And then there's the succulent plants who are like, please don't water me pretty much ever, and I'll love you forever and I'll never die. We all need to know what it is that we need. So I want you to take a moment to think about this for you. What is it? Do you know what you need? Do you know how you best learn? Where is it if we think about dance, where is it in the studio, in the dance room? Where is it that you like to stand? Are you someone that learns better from the back because you need that repetition? Are you someone that learns better from the front line because you want to see it exactly from the teacher? You can copy it really quickly and then you can just critique yourself in the mirror. Are you someone that wants counts? Are you someone that learns better with the ha, ha, ka, ka language? Are you someone that needs the anatomical language? You want to be told exactly where your body goes. Think about that for you. Then I want you to think about, what language do you use as a teacher? Are you the ka ka ha ha lady? Are you the teacher that teaches it once and then expects everyone to know it? Are you the teacher that gives lots of hype girl or football coach energy? Are you the teacher that uses abstract imagery, like reach your arms up like you're reaching grab the moon and bring the moon back into your chest? Are you the teacher that uses lyrics to the song? Counts, whatever it is. Think about that. What kind of teacher are you? What sort of communication do you use? Now, I want to challenge you for this week in your classes to use all of them. Face the front, face the back, give the abstract language, give the lyrics, give the counts, all the different things, because you know what? In your class, there's going to be a bunch of people and they all learn in all of these different ways. So if you can constantly be teaching everybody in all of these multifaceted ways, right, then you're basically going to tick, 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 tick everybody off. Somebody is going to understand that. Someone else is going to understand the other version. I call it the one-man band. It means that I'm trying to play the drums, the guitar, the piano all at the same time. I'm trying to feed everybody everything and do it all at the same time. Which brings me to teacher well-being, which we will touch on in episode 3, because in order for you to teach and have all of this energy and use all of this brain power and really give the most that you can possibly give for every lesson, you need to know how to replenish your own energy. And in teachers are energy givers, we give, and we need to replenish what we're giving or we'll just simply burn out. And the first thing that we'll do when we burn out is let it out on our students with and impatience. So we'll save that for episode 4. I want to give you a couple more examples before we finish this episode of some pretty extreme examples where I didn't know what the student needed and I did treat everyone the same very, very early on. I had a student who I was teaching, and she was ignoring me. She was just looking past me, staring into space, not listening to anything I was saying. And I was thinking, this was pretty rude. And this was in a mainstream class. And I just said, are you not listening to me? And she didn't respond. And her sister said to me with a lot of attitude, she's having an absence seizure. Now, I would have been 18 or 19, and I had no idea what that was. And I also didn't appreciate the attitude from this other student. And she said, she's not ignoring you, she's having a seizure. And I was like, why don't I know about this? So a couple of things were happening in reflection, right? One, I was feeling let down by the parents that hadn't disclosed this extremely important information to me about her medical condition. And the other was I was feeling disappointed in myself that I didn't know what that was. And as a dance teacher, that's not something we're going to learn about, which is why I now preach. I mean, one of the many, many reasons why I now preach about how important it is to learn way more about teaching and way more about working with people of all abilities than just thinking of yourselves as a dance teacher. Because I still remember that moment, and I have so much guilt around it because I felt like an awful person during that moment. I felt like I had really let her down, and I felt quite embarrassed as a teacher as well. So for those of you that might not know what that is, an absence seizure is a type of epileptic seizure, but not the sort that you've probably thought of and heard of before. There's no physical movements. They usually just sort of blank out, stare into space, may have blinking, fluttery eyes for a little bit. It generally goes 5 to 30 seconds. There's not much that you need to know about it or do. And often we don't make a big deal about it. It's just once that person's come back around, you might quietly let them know that it happened and that what they've sort of missed during that time. So it's important to know, first off, it's important that people and parents and caregivers do disclose these sorts of things on their enrolment forms, like medical conditions, disabilities, neurodiversities, learning difficulties, allergies, anything at all, because while the students are in your care, they're in your care. And I think a lot of the time dance gets a bit of a reputation for being something very casual, and it's not an industry that's taken very seriously, and people forget to disclose these sorts of things on their forms. So studio owners, you can help this by including this information on the form and making them a tick box. It helps people, just sort of gives them that little mental reminder or nudge to fill that out rather than an open-ended question. And then just when you get those enrollments back, just asking again, just rechecking, hey, just checking you haven't left any information about medical, just want to double check that there's nothing we need to know. So to sort of recap, treating everyone the same when we're teaching doesn't work. Even when we're creating spaces for people, we can't expect people to be able to always just be okay with everything. So I went to an event the other day, for example. I went to a really large scale event in a huge performance space, and they had a warning at the desk before you walked in. And this, to give you context, the space held about 500 people. And it was extremely loud. I thought for myself I should have taken my little headphones or loops. And there was a little trigger warning on the desk, and it simply said, just so you know, there's going to be lots of flashy lights and everything in this event. And I had this thought, what happens if someone has epilepsy? Out of 500 people, someone's going to have epilepsy in that room. Where's the option for them? where's the option for them? And I just thought, well, if you're going to have things like that, I think you need to have an option for that person. Or at the very least, before the part of the event where those lights happen, give them another warning. This is the part of the event where the lights are going to flash. There'll be strobe. If you need to leave the space, we'll give you some time to do that now. Rather than just saying, hey, this is what we're doing. That's not being helpful in any way. They've paid this event was a few $1,000s. They've paid their ticket. They come to the event, and then what? Treating everyone the same is not the answer. This sort of goes on to a bigger topic, but also expecting people to be able to provide their own access needs or, I think this topic could keep going bigger and bigger, right? Because there's things like people will assume that people with physical disabilities will just figure out how they need things to be for them. But sometimes they need support from the event or the venue in order to participate. We can't always be just expecting everybody else to fend for themselves, because sometimes things don't work like that. For example, if you put on an event and there's no wheelchair access, you can't expect people to magically be able to fix that themselves. You need to be thinking about other people. So maybe it's a simple thing of having a questionnaire when they buy their ticket. Do you have any access needs, access requirements that we need to be aware of? And then reaching out to that person and trying to figuring that out. Treating everyone the same is not the answer. I'm going to be real with you, because I'm not a perfect teacher, and I certainly have learned a lot. About 10 years ago, I had a student at a Sydney dance studio, a mainstream Sydney dance studio. And once again, I didn't know much about her. There was nothing on the roll that said anything about medical conditions. There was for allergies, but not for anything else. And that's quite possible that, again, it hadn't been disclosed to the studio. And we were doing acro, and we were going one by one to do forwards rolls. And the student wouldn't go. She wouldn't move. And I tried all the strategies that I knew. And by this point, I thought I was a pretty good teacher, and I was. I really cared about the students, and I was constantly wanting to learn more and do anything I could to support them. And this student wouldn't move. So I said, I said things like, are you okay? Would you like me to go with you? What kind of support do you need? Would you actually like to do the move? Yes or no? And I was getting no response. So I offered, touch my right hand, sort of touch this hand or touch this hand. Touch this hand for yes, touch this hand for no. Can you shake your head and tell me no, yes or no? And she just wouldn't move. She wouldn't go, and she wouldn't respond at all. And I must have been covering the class, because I really didn't know her very well at all. And I'm starting to get quite frustrated. I'm like, well, I've tried everything. She's just ignoring me. She's not moving. I'm like, well, if you're not going to go, do you want to just step aside for a moment and let the others go? And the waterworks. And I think the trigger for the waterworks was me saying something along the lines of, I need you to just tell me. I need you to just tell me what you need. And I later found out she had selective mutism. And once again, here comes all the guilt. I felt awful. By this point, I was working with people with disabilities as well. I had performability. I felt like I should have known better. In hindsight, I did a lot of the right strategies, and I gave all these different options. But that sentence of, well, why can't you just tell me, or I need you to just tell me, obviously really upset her, because she probably wanted to really tell me, but she just couldn't. And so once again, treating everyone the same or expecting the same results from things is not the answer. And if I was in that situation again, I'm not sure if I would have had extra strategies, because I did use so many different things, but I wouldn't have put the pressure on her with a sentence like, you need to just tell me, or why can't you just tell me? That was me getting frustrated. That was me feeling like I had no other options left. And once you start to learn more about, in particular, working with autistic students and students with PDA, a lot of those sorts of languages, a lot of those sorts of sentences and that sort of language becomes extinct from your vocabulary. I would never say sentences like that now because I've quite simply removed them from being options. We use a lot of supportive language. We use a lot of positive reinforcement. We give a lot of A or B options, but we certainly don't question, well, why can't you do something? I would never say something like that now. And this probably happened to that student all the time. Worse, I could imagine people getting a lot more impatient and more frustrated very quickly than what I did in that moment. And it saddens me because people often can't express what they need. And if they can, it often gets ignored anyway. So I urge you to, 1, don't treat everyone the same. 2, don't assume people can tell you what they need. And 3, if they do tell you what they need, please listen and learn more about what it is that they need and how you can best give that to them. Something that really bugs me is when I see businesses, yoga studios, dance studios, whatever it is, and they say all abilities. I went to a Pilates studio recently that said for all abilities, and I looked around and I thought, there is no way that this place could actually have people of all abilities. There's no way. And so it really frustrates me when businesses throw that out there, and they often mean levels, right? They mean we'll have beginners, intermediate, and we'll have advanced Pilates people. They don't mean people of all abilities. So if you are a business that says all abilities, I urge you to have a think about whether or not you actually can provide a space that's safe for people of all abilities and teachers who know how to work with people of all abilities in the true meaning of all abilities, everybody. And I hope that after listening to this episode this week, if you are a teacher, you notice a student you haven't noticed before, you ask questions to your students that you may have never asked them before, and you start to notice how everyone learns differently. Start to notice when you say right and left, who understands what that means. Start to notice what it is that they need and commit to the arts truly being for everyone, because it starts with you. I think once you understand and are opened up to how much this world and this industry are not accessible for everyone, you can't unsee that. And I hope that along on this journey with me, I can help to open up your eyes to a lot of things that we can be doing better. And people that start to become friends with me, they start to get just as frustrated as I am with a lack of access. They'll text me and say, I went to this bar the other day and the wheelchair lift was broken. Or, I went to a doctor's surgery and the reception desk was so high I could barely reach over it, let alone somebody else. I had to fill out this form the other day and I could not understand it at all, so I'm not sure how anyone with learning difficulties could understand it. I hope that the more you listen to me in your ears or watch this, the more you start to realize the things that need to be changed, how inaccessible a lot of the things in this world are, and start to change them. Because one daisy can only do so much, but together we create the daisy chain effect. Before we wrap up, a quick little reminder. Everything shared on this podcast comes from my personal experience working in the performing arts and inclusion space. It's here for education, ideas, and conversation, not professional medical, legal, or therapeutic advice. Always chat with the right professionals for your specific situation and keep asking the good questions. Bye for now.